I just watched Marty, which won the 1955 Best Picture Oscar. I'm trying to get through the Best Picture Oscars, Best Picture winners, even. I'm trying to get through the Best Picture Oscars. I just own too many. I'm trying to get through the Best Picture winners. That's one of the items on my bucket list to watch every film that's won Best Picture. So, trying to get through that right now. Marty holds the distinction of being the shortest picture to ever win Best Picture. It's a little more than 90 minutes long. It's very short. It also, in a link to the last film I reviewed, An American in Paris, stars Gene Kelly's then wife, who was also nominated for an Oscar for her performance in this film. So this film is also, very interestingly, first the first Best Picture winner, which was based on a TV broadcast, because it was made first, and it was indeed originally written as a television play, and that shows. That shows very much. I feel it's an incredibly small story with a lot of people talking in one location for rather long amounts of time. It's very personal, it's very character focused. Not that those are necessarily bad things. It's not really got the high stakes or the kind of sweeping feel, the cinematic audacity that you associate with, especially sort of 1950s Best Picture winners. Like going from An American in Paris to Marty is an interesting go from a lot of bombast and a lot of look what we can do to a lot of let's really get under the skin of the human condition. It was essentially an independent film, and it actually apparently sort of showed independent films can be viable and get sort of renewed interest and brought more money in for independent films because it this film is just all about the trivia because another interesting tidbit about this film. It's the first time, possibly the only time, that more money was spent on the film's award campaign than on the actual film itself. It cost, I think, something like 40,000, so like 440. I think it was something like it cost $40,000 to make. Although that sounds very small, so it's probably more than that. And then it was like $400,000 on like awards campaigning. So yeah, it was a very small film, and they made a lot of money for what it cost them. So good for them on that. You might notice that I'm hedging, I'm being very kind of measured. I'm not sure I entirely enjoyed this film. I found it quite dull. Paddy Chayefsky, who wrote the screenplay and who is I really was looking forward to this when I saw Paddy Chayefsky's name because Paddy Chayefsky wrote Network, which is a phenomenal screenplay. It is electric to watch, and you just every line like sends a frisson through your skin. You're like ooh, and it's really funny. There's just several moments where I had to pause that film because I was laughing, and this film is not as funny. There are a couple of nice lines. There's a lot of repetition, and I believe it's repetition to make a point, but still, there is just a lot of lines and phrases that just get repeated. There's this ongoing joke. So, the story of this film is that there is an Italian American butcher living in New York. He is the oldest of six children. He is the last one living at home, and everyone's putting pressure on him to get married. He feels very lonely and he feels very unappealing. He says on several occasions that he is overweight, that he feels ugly, that he just doesn't think that women find him attractive. He's very shy. And by chance, one evening, he goes to a dance hall, gets rejected a couple of times, and then through a not very convoluted. So yeah, just he kind of meets a girl and they hit it off. And they hit it off some more, and they hit it off some more, and they talk in a variety of locations. The first hour of this film is essentially him going to the dance, meeting this girl, talking to this girl, and then the final 20 minutes are the next day. So the next day, his mother, who briefly met this girl, and doesn't like her because she's very sort of modern, and she says that mother-in-laws shouldn't live with married couples. And this is, a huge red flag to Marty's mother, who wants to live with her son forever. Um, and yeah, uh, so that's a red flag. So the mother doesn't like um, Clara, the girl that Marty met, and Marty's friends don't like Clara because they don't think that she's very attractive. They keep on calling her a dog, which is really unfair. And it's meant to be kind of cruel, I think, but Marty also this was a weird thing because Marty's like, well, maybe you're not as much of a dog as you think, and then but later he's like, two dogs like us, like he refers to himself as a dog as well, but he refers to her as a dog a couple of times. I'm like, guys, don't do that. Just don't. It's rude and not like it's just unappealing. You want to know what makes you unappealing, Marty? That might be it. So Marty's friends don't like Clara. Marty's mother doesn't like Clara. Marty's cousin is recently married, has just had a baby, and is fighting constantly with his wife and tells Marty like, "Oh, stay single, stay single." And the drama for the last third-ish of the film is, will Marty phone Clara, because he said he would, and Clara is hoping he will. And is he going to, or will the people in his life persuade him that he shouldn't? So, A, it feels very uneven. There is a lot of time spent on getting the two together. Marty doesn't go to the dance. So, as I said, it's a very short film, it's 90 minutes. I don't think they meet until half an hour in. Admittedly, they then spend pretty much the next half hour just talking, so you do feel a connection between them. But it's very kind of, as I said, it's such a TV play because you can definitely feel like, so it's going to have three advert breaks. So at the end of the first advert break, he goes to the dance. At the end of the second advert break, they split up for the night, and she says, "Call me." And the third advert break, is he gonna call her? And yeah, so it feels a bit uneven because the conflict, the actual conflict of will Marty phone this girl, doesn't really start until 75 minutes into a 90-minute film. I guess it is technically in the third act, but it definitely just sort of comes out of nowhere. He's standing on the steps of a cathedral, and his mother's like, "I don't like that girl. You shouldn't call her." And I mean, before that, his cousin's been like, "Stay single," but Marty just ignored his cousin, so, and his cousin doesn't show up again after that, so you're not really sure if that had any impact at all. So this conflict doesn't really start until 75 minutes in. Until then, it's um, very okay. So Paddy Chayefsky said, "I wanted to write the world's most normal, most ordinary love story," and he did. They meet at a dance hall, and they meet because Clara has gone with this guy, and this guy's like, "She's too much of a dog for me." And he tries to pay Marty so that Marty will take Clara home so that he doesn't have to. And Marty refuses, and then Marty's friend Angelo takes the money to do this. But then Clara says she'll go home alone, and Angelo's like, "Oh, I don't have to do it. I don't have to hang out with this dog." Angelo is Gross. Angelo is a problem. And then Marty feels bad for her, so Marty goes over and is like, would you like to dance? And they dance and talk, and they both find out they bond over the fact that they've both thought about killing themselves. That's yeah, that's never really addressed. And they bond over the fact that they both live with their parents, and they don't know if they should try and move on from that. And yeah, they bond a lot. And yeah, Ernest Borgnine is giving a wonderful performance. He is fantastic. Betsy Blair as Clara, um, she got a lot of acclaim for her performance, and it's one of those performances where you're like, this could be actually, maybe this is a really good layered performance, or maybe she's just doing one facial expression the entire time, and you kind of can't tell because in a way, she does create a consistent character, but she mostly just kind of goes around this weird kind of like she's kind of vaguely pleased. Like she's like, oh, well, I guess this is better than I expected. There's this lovely phrase in Japanese that I'm trying to get into English, which is just mashi, which is when people are like, how are you? And you say mashi, which is like, it has this wonderful connotation of improved, but still not as good as I would like. So her entire face to me just says mashy to everything, which I guess makes sense given the context of sort of ordinary romance, and she's meant to think that she's unlovable, and she's like, well, he's not perfect, but he'll do. But I don't feel her character has many layers. But she did get a lot of acclaim, so maybe I just missed something in it. Um, the other person who got acclaim for this film was Joe Mantel, playing Angelo, or Angie, Marty's friend who tries to convince him to ditch Clara because she's not attractive enough. And I don't think that's a good performance. I mean, I don't like Angie as a character anyway, but I don't think we're meant to. But Joe Mantel, when you see him in conversation with other people in this film, he seems to just be waiting for his line. He says his lines well enough, but he doesn't really react to the other person. Like, he just kind of stays there with the same expression, and then as soon as the other person goes, he's like, oh, it's my turn to talk now. I, I didn't like it. I didn't like it, and I just didn't like Angelo or Angie anyway. So yeah, when he's on screen, it's not great. Um, but Ernest Borgnine is fantastic, and he does feel very down to earth and ordinary, which is not particularly easy to play for actors. It's actually quite hard to like, it's almost in a way easier to be like, I'm a crazy prince of Denmark, or I am, the world's most powerful businessman with a moral dilemma, than like, I'm an ordinary person and my life's kind of shit. It's hard to kind of get that to pitch that, and he does it very well, and he creates an engaging character. And I think a lot of the film's acclaim is for Ernest Borgnine's performance. He won an Oscar as well, and he deserved it. Paddy Chayefsky won an Oscar for the script. Not sure I agree with that. It's a fine script. As I said, there are a lot of repeated phrases. So one that keeps coming up is like, not married at your age, you should be ashamed. And several people say that. And yeah, okay, that's sort of the theme of the film, and that's what gives Marty and Clara their character motivation. So, okay, but then there's just other weird repetitions of just certain phrases. Um, Obviously, now I can't remember what any of them are, so I can't prove my point. But trust me, they are there. I'm trying to think what one of them was. I should have written it down. I should just start making notes when I watch these films. Um, she's a dog. You're not as much of a dog as you think. Marty says that several times to Clara. It's not very attractive. I would not want to keep on talking to someone who said that to me. Um, about gender politics, because it's kind of hard to review a romance film from the 1950s and not get into gender politics. This isn't that bad. Marty is fairly decent. Clara seems, entirely consenting to everything they do, except for one bit where Marty's putting on her coat and then his hands start to move, and they don't move towards any sensitive areas, but they're sort of like dancing around her shoulders, and she's like, Marty, please, and he's like, I just want to kiss you. She's like, no, and he's like, oh, fine. Um, it's less melodramatic than that. That was a bad performance. Neither of them give a poor performance like that, and maybe for that they deserve acclaim, because clearly that is how I would have read the script in this one man production that I did in an alternate reality. And and yeah, so she says no, and he sort of immediately breaks away and is like, "Fine, I just wanted to kiss you. I just wanted one lousy kiss." And yeah, that's kind of icky, but it's nowhere near as bad as an American in Paris. Not that that is the bar we should be setting, but I mean, most of the time, I would say Marty comes across as very decent. Um, and yeah, it's a it's a very sort of ordinary, down to earth film. The other Best Picture winner that it reminds me most of is actually Moonlight, in that it's very slice of life. And actually, I was watching the beginning where people keep on telling Marty to get married to a girl, and he's like, no, and he doesn't really give a reason. And even though I knew that Moonlight was the first Best Picture winner with like a gay main character, I was like, is Marty meant to be gay? Because I actually didn't know the plot of this film. This is another film where I didn't know the plot going in, and then the plot was not gangbusters. Um, and I was like, oh, is Marty gay? And he's not. And I would have preferred the film if he were, not gonna lie. Anyway, so the last 10-15 minutes are actually quite compelling. For all my griping, I did have an emotional stake in whether or not Marty phoned Clara. I definitely wanted him to. I was like, don't let other people dissuade you. And I think a lot of that is Ernest Borgnine's performance. You want Marty to be happy, and yeah, it's a very low stakes, it's a very kind of personal story, but you are kind of invested. It's just to get to the point where you get payback on your investment is quite a long time, even though the film's very short. Uh, I don't think it looks particularly great. It doesn't look bad, but it's black and white. Not that that's a problem, but the sets are very unremarkable. The costumes are nothing to write home about. Although, being the 1950s, there are some amazing women wearing glasses. None of the main characters wear glasses, sadly, or none of the main female characters wear glasses. But it really does drive home to you just how far women's glasses have fallen in the style department. They used to announce themselves, and now nothing. So that made me upset. Yeah. Um, I think that's about all I can say really. It's an incredibly low stakes film. If you like slice of life stuff, you'll probably like it. If you like romance films, you'll probably like it. Neither of those are really my cup of tea, but I can't say it was poorly made. I wanted a bit more kind of vinegar and grit and humor from a Paddy Chayefsky script, but clearly I don't know Paddy Chayefsky as well as I thought. Oh well. That is my review of Marty. See you later.